Mate, thank you, first of all, for your time. First of all, becoming part of what we're doing. We're looking to help spread the word of help people discover, explore, and connect with all sorts of fitness, sports, wellness, and adventure. And this one's very unique. And so really grateful to have you on. Tell us a little bit more. What, first of all, is a combat nutritionist?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. Just wanted to say first of all, but yeah, so combat sports nutritionist is basically a nutritionist who specialises working with fighters who are basically in a weight making sport. So that can be boxing, that can be mixed martial arts, that can be Brazilian jiu-jitsu, that could be taekwondo, Muay Thai, and basically my job is to just help fighters get on the weight, so take out all the stress of them making the weight and helping them to perform during the fight camp and of course performing the fight. So a lot that goes into it, but in a nutshell, that's basically what I do. Yes.
Okay, well, mate, we're going to dive into that. We're going to get to there. We're going to find a little bit more about you. I mean, just very briefly, because off air beforehand, you're in Vietnam now, which kind of makes a lot of sense when I first think about it. But give us a little more. You're obviously not from Vietnam as well. Whereabouts you from? What's your background?
Yeah, definitely not from Vietnam. No, definitely not. But yeah, so I'm from Manchester in England, the UK, and I've been in Thailand since January of this year. And funnily enough, actually, I was actually in. Well, I say your neck of the woods. It's not really your neck of the woods because Australia is a big place, of course, one of the biggest countries in the world. But I was in Australia actually last year for around 2.5 months. So I was in Brisbane, in Queensland. So I was there, and then essentially what happened is I was working in a supplement store in the UK. It's called Holland and Barrett, and it's a bit similar to some of the stores you've got in Australia, like Nutrition Warehouse, etc. So I was working there, and basically I decided, right, I didn't want to do this job anymore because I was doing the same thing every day, and I felt like I'd kind of outgrown the environment. I needed the next step and another challenge. So my social media was doing well with the fighters. I was working with some fighters. I was posting good content. So I decided, all right, why don't I get out of this, put myself out in my comfort zone and go to Australia? And to be honest with you, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Like the plan was to, make my content about combat sports, weight making, fueling performance, etc. And I was looking for jobs at the same time whilst I was in Australia because I was on a 1-year working holiday visa, which is the one you would get. Yeah. And what happened was I couldn't get anywhere. I was getting interviews in what was the store called now? Elite Sups, Power Sups, Nutrition Warehouse. All these interviews, wasn't getting any of them. And I thought, I'm sick of this. I'm miles away from the city. So I was in Brisbane, but I was in the south of Brisbane, and it took me about an hour and 30 minutes to get to the centre of Brisbane every single day. So I was basically in the middle of nowhere. As you'll know, it's pretty common for Australia. Everyone's so far apart. So basically, I just decided, right, I can't really do this anymore. I don't want to do it. And then guess what happens? The moment I've booked the flight back to the UK, I've got 2 calls. Right, we've got an assistant manager job role for you, Ethan. Would you like to take it? And obviously, I have to tell them, look, I've come back home. But that was a good thing that happened because obviously, if that didn't happen, then I wouldn't be, where I am today. So essentially, what happened after that was I've gone back home. And for a couple of months, I was just working with the fighters and stuff, not to the level that I am now. But I had a couple of fighters. I was, kind of new onto the scene. So then I've got another job in a new Holland and Barrett store, like a new one that had opened local to me in Manchester. And obviously, I remember I was speaking with the manager, and he had huge plans for it. He really wanted to get me involved with it. All the supplements due to my knowledge from my degree and stuff in sports nutrition. So obviously, I was thinking, this will be perfect alongside my business working, as a combat sports nutritionist whilst I'm building it up. But to be honest, it didn't really take off to the levels that obviously we thought it would do due to like the location and some other factors as well, of course, which out of my control. So basically,
I'm going to cut you off there for a second. Sorry, I'm going to cut you off there for a second because you was going back onto the sport. So you've done the degree in sports nutrition. When you've done that degree, or when you were going to do that degree, was it to get into this particular space?
Actually, yeah, I'm glad you stopped me there because actually what happened was, I finished the degree in sports nutrition, Manchester Metropolitan. That was in 2022. And then after that, I jumped straight into the Holland and Barrett store. So I'd been working for that company for a good couple of years. And I remember the plan was to actually become a dietitian. And I didn't really have any kind of ideas whether I wanted to work with fighters or always, wanted to work with just
Get
like
ready for the world's greatest adventure, the FFP World Tour 2026. A year-long journey to 36 destinations packed with fitness, sports, wellness, and unforgettable adventures. Each destination will be under the spotlight. 10 days of activations, events, challenges, and your chance to connect with like-minded people. The tour is led by the Chief Adventure Officer, who will travel the world for 12 months, discovering, exploring, and sharing the best experiences along the way. The CAO will be joined by 100 ambassadors throughout the world to connect with the people and inspire their city. Want to get involved? Simply register as a user or a member on our website or tag FFP Travels when posting content of the places you visit and the people you meet. It's that easy. This is more than just a tour. This is the world's greatest adventure.
I wanted to work with just like the general public, so like everybody. But I remember I was having a couple of conversations with a couple of people, and they said, "Oh, you should be a dietitian. You should work in the the NHS, the UK's National Health Service, for those who don't know." And
Sorry, could you also quickly explain that one? Could you quickly explain that one, the difference between a nutritionist and a dietitian? Because I know there's a lot of people out there that don't understand the difference quickly.
Yeah, exactly. So that's actually what I was going to kind of lead on to. So basically, right, I was going to become a dietitian, so work with people. So basically, what a dietitian would do is, especially in the UK, that's somebody who's regulated by the HCPC, I believe it's called, who can work with healthy people and people who are unhealthy. So essentially, a sports nutritionist can work with athletes and healthy people. A dietitian can work with the general public, everybody. So say, for example, somebody came to me and they've got like kidney problems, like kidney failure, something serious. I can't intervene with the diet. I can't give prescriptive advice, but a dietitian, they can actually start putting this person onto like nutrition base, can start supplementing things. So that's literally the difference. It's as simple as I can put it here.
Yeah, no, fantastic. The part of it when it goes there, you've gone to this work and you've obviously looking. Were you part of a gym beforehand? A fight club beforehand? Because obviously this is where the direction is kind of is going. But like, were you doing that as like a sport? Were you doing other sports before, or just?
Yes, so where it actually came from, it's obviously it's a bit all over the place. The information will kind of connect the dots soon, but so what happened was when I was doing my degree in sports nutrition, that covers every sport, and it's just like everything to do with sports nutrition. So I remember when I was in my last year, I did some assignments on a couple of, I think it was an MMA fighter who was one of my friends at the time, amateur MMA fighter, and I did a case study on him, helped him fuel a fight camp, and I basically did some testing, some metabolic testing, and he explained, obviously, in my assignment, look, this is what we did with him, this is how I got him from this weight to this weight, and just we had to give all the results. I did that, and I did a couple of assignments on strength and conditioning for mixed martial arts, and to be honest with you, throughout my entire life, I've always loved boxing, I've always loved combat sports, so that's kind of where the direction come. But what happened was, as I said, when I left, I wanted to be a dietitian, and then I did an interview at two universities. One I got the interview, and the other one I didn't. But I decided that I didn't really want to be working, because the route I would have had to have gone down if I would have worked as a dietitian is I would have had to work. Basically, you work in a hospital, and it's not really like it was more of a career setup. Now, what happened was I was doing a little bit of social media, like I was posting a little bit about nutrition, just about in general, like fat loss, how to fuel up your body, and just everything like that. And then I remember I started to look at like sort of niches to work with, and obviously I'd done that work with my mate back in university, done a bit of combat sports, and that part really interested me because I used to watch a couple of videos online on YouTube about like weight cutting, and I just thought, well, this seems to be a big issue with the weight cutting. I wonder how I can make a change to this. So I got into my social media, and then that's really started to get into the niche of the combat sports, and that's essentially where it came from. To be honest, I didn't really want to work in a hospital setting, and I just loved the thought of helping fighters. I loved the thought of watching Muay Thai fights, boxing, and I thought, right, if I can be a part of this somehow, that's a dream, and obviously I'm making it through. So
yeah, that's brilliant. We're going to take the next step in there. It's quite a fascinating story, because you are one of these people. Like I mean, I've been around the industry for 25 years, and when people kind of come into the industry, they do fitness and they think, oh, I should do my education, whether it be through university or certificates or whatever they go for. It's a simple thing. You go in with education and general information, you give a bit of a blanket, and then you kind of fall into naturally what happens with you, where you tend to, like yourself, you've went to the combat side of things. If someone's been more to the yoga or the strength or the powerlifting or the weight loss transformations, they tend to fall in that direction. So for you, you found it quite quickly what you want to apply yourself. You back in Manchester after not working out here in Australia, and then you've only just recently gone to Vietnam. Like you're saying, the silver lining was that you wouldn't be in Vietnam if it wasn't for that for that mishap, I suppose you could say. So what took you to Vietnam to get more into it?
Well,
Sorry. Yeah.
Yes. So basically, obviously I don't live in Vietnam now. I'm actually just here in Vietnam for like around 2 weeks to do my visa for Thailand. So what happens is this visa that I'm applying for. Once you've got the visa, it's called a DTV. It's like a 5 years visa that basically a digital nomad, somebody who works online, can do in Thailand. So you have to leave the country and apply. So yeah, like I say, I've been to Thailand I came to Thailand in January. I've done a tourist visa for 6 months, and there was 2 occasions where I didn't get the DTV visa where I applied before. Did it once in Vietnam, once in Malaysia, and this time I've got everything, kind of all the documents and all the funds and everything, just everything that I need for it, and I've come here to do it. So I think with a bit of luck, obviously it should come through this time. So that's kind of why I'm in Vietnam at this moment in time. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay. And then let's go into the fighter side of things then, because this is something that I know fascinates a lot of people, myself included, like what people have to. I mean, like I've just had a couple of chats with people that go through bodybuilding. One goes through figure, the other one, I think, I can't remember how there's a male one for it, physique. And, there's a process they go through and it's quite intense, but then the fighters have to go through the same thing. In general, what are you always recommending for a fighter in a general? It's not a training camp, it's not fight night, just in general for a fighter first.
Do you mean like what am I recommending in terms of the nutrition, like what they should eat?
Yeah, just for general day to start with.
Yeah, so to be honest with you, like with like my message and what I'm putting out there for fighters, obviously within combat sports, you'll get your fight week where you'll do your weight cut, and then you've got to make the weight and do the the refuel and the rehydration. But normally we'll do like a 12-week or 3-month camp together, and normally I'm just massively focusing on the carbohydrate, getting as many carbohydrates into the body as possible. And usually what I'll do is I'll go for a range of between 4 to 8 grams of carbs per kilogram of body weight, and it's very simple the way it works really. So essentially the lower the training load, the more you would go to the 4 grams per kilogram, and then the higher you'd go to the 8, up towards the upper end of the scale. So basically it's just looking at fueling your body with all types of foods really, like your bread, so like poached eggs with avocado. Nutella toast is a good one, biscuit bagels. So basically carbohydrate dense foods which are going to give your body the fuel that they need, because the problem is now there's a lot of clever marketers, as I should say, on social media who will push the wrong information out there. So what I'm trying to do in the message that I'm putting across is that, listen, you need to eat these sweets, you need to eat these pancakes, the toast, and then the meals that I've just explained there, and then your body's going to basically get the output that you need. But obviously a lot of fighters, they tend to go off what like the greats would say, like a Mayweather or like a McGregor or a Khabib, or just a big name fighter. They'll tend to go off what they're going to. But luckily, I feel like now, even though I'm quite early into what I'm doing, a lot of the fighters are taking my advice on board, and luckily, and it's really satisfying to see it actually paying off for them. So yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. And it seems like very much, like looking for your socials and like that, you seem very much on that performance basis or bias, which is, I think, is a good thing, because I think there's a lot of things around that space, especially it is performance based. I mean, ripped muscles and abs don't make perform better by any means. So do you change this up too between the different weight classes as well? Like, or do you focus on a particular weight class yourself?
No, no, no. All weight classes. The only thing that would really differ is with like the weight classes. So, say for example, you've got an 80 kilogram fighter, or you've got a 70 kilogram or a 55 kilogram fighter. The only thing that will change is like essentially the amount of calories they're eating, because obviously
Mm.
for every person out there, obviously we're talking about fighters here, combat sports athletes. Obviously, they're going to be training a lot harder than the average Joe, the everyday person.
Yep.
So obviously the energy requirements will go on there. So basically the calories, the protein, the carbohydrate, it's all dependent essentially on them two things: how active you are and how much muscle mass you've got. So like I say, a big 80 kilogram fighter with a high percentage of muscle mass is going to be able to eat a lot more food than, let's say, for example, a 55 kilogram fighter. So it
Mm-hmm.
basically just comes down to that, to be honest, and I just personalise it around that. One thing that I like to focus on, and that I'm a huge believer on, is personalisation and making diets to the person. I think a lot of people, when they go on these AI chat sites now, Chat GPT, they'll just take that information for what it is, and they think, oh well, if that information's coming from Chat GPT, then that's what I should do. But obviously,
Mm-hmm.
not every person, everyone is different. Everyone's got a different, activity level. Everyone's got a different level of muscle mass.
100%.
Everyone's got a different schedule. So it's simple as that, really. Yeah.
Yeah. When it comes down to that too, like, can you give us an example, first of all, the assessment you put people through to understand, because like in a big part of the world, most people just don't understand that, like, we'll keep to combat because, I'm sure there's a lot of fighters you've come across also, even early in your career, that you've noticed that don't understand their nutrition because they simply haven't tracked it in one way or form. What's the kind of the tools of the trade that you fall back on to make sure that understand how much they are having, what their macros and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the way that I do it is, because I can't be physically there in person, I've got an equation. It's called the Harris-Benedict equation. So that would be the energy requirements. But what I'll do is, with every fighter that I'm about to set up or start working with, I'll send a form across to them. I'll get age, height in centimeters, weight, and then like a training schedule with the day. So basically Monday to Sunday, and the times and the type of session they're doing, and essentially put that into the
Mm-hmm.
training. Sorry, put that training schedule and all that information into the Harris Benedict's equation. Calculate the basic energy requirements, so we call it your basal metabolism. So that's how much calories you would need if you're doing what I'm doing now, just lying down and nothing all day, help your body work.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll use an activity multiplier based on how active they are. And then what will happen from there is I'll just put the plan together based on their energy requirements. And if they need to eat an energy deficit to lose fat or lose weight, then I'll go, all right, well, we're minus 500 calories on that. And then usually I'll just make the adjustments from there, because basically if I'll know if the fighter's, if it's working or not, because if the fighter's not losing weight, just as a hypothetical example, at the right rate, then I'm right, well, either they're not doing something right, they're eating too much food, or I program too much. So that's the way I would do it. But normally we would do, like, you do an assessment, like, what's the name of the machine that we'd use now? You'd use like an oxygen mask, and then
Mm-hmm.
you'd do it that way, so you'd get like the numbers based on how much oxygen you're breathing out, and then that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the most accurate way, or like a DEXA scan. But unfortunately, I've not got the privilege to do that, so that's kind of the way I do it, and yeah, it definitely works. Yeah.
What's some of the barriers that you have to kind of overcome once you got that assessment with fighters? I mean, fighters are generally quite, obviously, determined. I mean, they're driven. They're usually pretty disciplined for the most part. What's kind of the barriers you got to face early um, with fighters themselves? Is there like, I'm trying to think. I can't really think off the bat. Like, would there be challenges like getting them to make sure they stick to their eating regime?
Do you know the challenge? I would say what I've dealt with the most with fighters is they, because it's a weight making sport, and they know in the mind, obviously, that they've got to make the weight. Let's say for example, I put a plan together for a fighter, a Muay Thai fighter, of 2,800 calories a day, and that fighter's training 3 times a day, 5 times a week. They will just look at that plan straight away, and even when they've looked through it, and they'll just start panicking, and they'll message me, send me voice notes, whichever way they're going to communicate with me, and just tell me every reason why they can't eat that. It's way too much food, and obviously before I've actually started putting the plan together, I've done the form. I've already got information based off how much they're eating, and it just blows my mind because they're so scared of of gaining weight. Like they won't trust my plan in terms of what I'm doing for them, and I looked to what they was eating before, and it'll have been 1,300 or 1,400 calories a day, and I'm thinking, and it's sometimes it can be very difficult to get them to change. So I think the most important thing for me is to obviously have trust with what I'm doing, like experience, credibility and stuff. And I think luckily it's starting to come together like that. But I think when you're first starting out, you've got to build that,
Massively.
authority with
Yeah.
it. But that's definitely the biggest issue. Fighters are probably the worst people who you want to tell to eat more because they've got to make weight. It's just constantly on the mind, and that's where a lot of problems can come into play if they're not careful. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't even think about that. I mean, one thing is, first of all, the trust has to come with you, but then there's also got to be, I suppose, the trust with the process as well, right? I mean, to let themselves go, potentially, like you said, they got to cut down, make weight. So to go up first in order to build on that extra muscle or to build that engine, they need those extra calories and those extra ones. What are some of the higher end athletes? How many calories are they eating, burning in a day?
So that the higher end athletes, like obviously the bigger guys. I mean, it's difficult to tell how many calories somebody is burning, but basically, in terms of like, say for example, you've got like a 80 kilogram fighter, obviously a big guy, is training, 5 days a week, doing 3 sessions a day, sparring, conditioning work, they might be doing bag work or whatever. They could be eating up to 3,500, 3,600 calories. Like I say, it's all dependent on how much they're training and the size. So yeah, they could be eating a lot more food than normal people. And luckily, like the bigger someone is and the bigger muscle mass they've got anyway, especially as a fighter. Obviously, they don't train as like a bodybuilder, but even if they're a bigger fighter and they've got that extra muscle mass, their body is naturally going to want more energy and food anyway. Because when they're training so hard, they've got muscle mass. You've got to remember, having more muscle mass means you burn more calories at rest anyway. So if you're doing activity on top of that, your body's just going to be crying out for energy and food. So luckily, it's not really a problem with them. It's more the leaner and the slimmer fighters who don't want to eat. It's what I always observe. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they've got habits, don't they? In those ways, they've got habits. There's how I put this. There is a thought process out there with a lot of people that, to be lean, you have to always just eat, vegetables and lean meats. Obviously, with some athletes, it's quite hard to eat a lot of food. It's very hard to get the amount of calories into the body in order to be able to get enough calories in. What are your things you're recommending to people? And what's okay? I'll give you a good example of what I'm talking about here. So with a bodybuilder, he was burning too many calories and he was losing muscle. So he'd have a couple of donuts added to his diet. Do you have guys that you've had to work with that? It looks pretty still. Maybe I lost them. Oops. Maybe I lost them for a short amount of time. Oh, maybe jumped away for a second. That's okay. We'll get him back. Guys, there's no any questions you have for Finn on the side of things. He's a young, aspiring, career-driven gentleman that's making a pathway for himself. Done the studies. He's applying it in a space that he loves. He's passionate about. I know there's so many people out there that want to follow along that pathway as well. He's got his things on social media. It is Finn _ Finn. Let me just double check on that one. Finn Kenny _ fight nutritionist. I'll put that up here in a second. I mean, literally a second. Here it is here. Finn Kenny for the nutritionist. It's a really niche field, and it's something I think a lot of more people get into these days. So when Finn gets back, I'm going to ask him that question again. Maybe that the old internet in Vietnam isn't working the best for him at the moment. But it is something that, knowing that a lot of people struggle to put like 2,000 calories in, because you can do it in a couple of different ways, right? You can have you can have a packet of biscuits, 2,000, and that would be 2,000 calories. or you'd have to have 4 meals, nutrition dense meals. There's things like broccoli, rice, chicken, or salmon, or the avocado, or things like on there as well. So like you have to sometimes go away from the healthy meals in order to get the calories in. He's back with us, which is good. Got him back on here.
Yeah, massively
He ran away
apologise
for a
about
second.
that. Yeah, but one of my charges is faulty, and I've had to go and grab the other one. So yeah, I apologise about that.
No worries, mate. No worries. So the question's about like because people think to be fit or to perform well, you've only just got to eat healthy foods, which is actually quite contradictory because you can't get enough calories in. Because let's say, especially some top athletes burn anywhere between 5 to 10,000 calories in a day, to the extremities of their sport and what they do. But how do you get people to have more calories if they're struggling to eat, let's say 4 or 5 portions of food? Like you said, like the slimmer ones, they probably are not used to eating larger amounts of food in a day.
Yeah, it's really good point, to be honest with you. Like, so normally what I'll do with the fighters anyway, they'll usually eat a minimum of 4 meals, so that'd be like a baseline. And say, for example, it's a fighter who's struggling to get the calories in and they don't want to eat that solid food because, as you say, it can be really difficult chewing on chicken and broccoli and rice and pasta, especially when you've got that volume of food and you need to eat more. So what we do, I'd usually get it from liquid form, so shakes is usually the best. So you can put your whey proteins in, you can put your milk, your peanut butter. So basically, you can make it really dense in energy, so you just have a smaller amount, but obviously increase the calorie cost by adding the extra fats in and the extra carbs. So that's usually a good way. Or just things like sweets. Sweets are really good, like granola bars. Just things that are going to be, like I said, calorie dense, so you can have a small amount instead of a high amount of calories. But you're absolutely right. Like, especially a lot of these sort of fighters who are very slim, towards, like I'd say, 50 kilograms, 60 kilograms. Obviously, they've got a really fast metabolism, and I've noticed that they don't want to eat as much food. So again, like I said, the best and the more sort of practical way to get them to eat more calories and consume more food is definitely through liquid form, and it definitely helps so much more.
The Well, let's go into like that's the kind of general. Like when it comes down to moving towards, what's that period, or when does it start? When you start thinking about, okay, look, you're eating for performance. You're here to improve your art form, and then now you've booked on a fight, and you've got fight night coming up. What does that process look like?
Yeah, this is obviously the most important question when it comes to getting someone ready to make the weight. Now, I mean, the thing is with this is it can differ because not normally a fighter will do a 12-week or basically a 3-month fight camp, and if the fighter is working with me within that sort of range, they're doing a full entire camp with me. Usually, we'll only start to do a weight descent, so the rapid weight loss, 3 to 4 weeks before the fight, and then that's where we'll start slowly depleting carbs and glycogen, and then we'll start increasing their activity levels, lowering the volume of the food they're eating, and then getting them to a comfortable weight on fight week. But of course, a lot of fighters can get last minute call ups to fights. Like I'm working with this one guy at the moment, and he's had a last minute call up for a fight this week. So if, say for example, they've got a call it and they've only got 2 weeks notice, we just have to start looking at what the weight that they're at now, the current weight, and how much we need to. Obviously, we'll calculate the weight loss and then start to do the carb depletion. But ideally, you need at least 3 to 4 weeks to start preparing that weight descent process. But as I say, in combat sports, obviously there's fights that can happen very quickly, and then they can have pullouts as well, which is obviously a bad part and not the greatest part of the sport as well.
There's what's the explain to people when it comes to dropping weight significantly fast. What is that weight?
Yeah, exactly. So essentially, this is the thing, you see. Like, a lot of fighters will turn around to me, and on fight week they're always saying, "Oh, what I'm going to do for me, I think we should drop the calories a lot more to lose weight fast." But that's not actually how it works, because if you drop calories, that basically we're going to do rapid weight loss, which is what we do on fight week, and then you do sort of extended weight loss. But when it comes to actually fight week rapid weight loss, it's essentially water retention that's going to come off, and it's manipulating your body water. So what we'll do is we'll do things like taking fibre out of the diet fiber's undigested food, so it can stay in your digestive tract. You don't actually digest it, and it draws water into the abdominal region. So we'd take that out. We'd obviously reduce your sodium and salt, because wherever salt goes, water follows, which is obviously going to hold on to extra weight. We'd obviously, like I say, we'd take the carbs out to get rid of glycogen again and water that's attached to it, and the actual weight of the glycogen stored in your muscles, and then we'd essentially lower the weight of the food you're eating. The rule that I like to use with this is every gram of food you eat equals a gram on the scale. So if you can lower the weight of the food, well, guess what? And if you're active, you're going to lower your body weight as well. So that's a lot of confusion that, a lot of people who aren't fighters will sort of, won't understand. But the thing is that if the weight of the food is low, you can still eat higher calorie meals. Like I say, the most important thing is making sure the volume's low. And if you do that and use the right weight cutting methods, then you're always going to make the weight.
Is there a point where it's too late?
Where it's too late to make the weight?
Let's say, for a silly example, it's 5 days to go and you're, I don't know, would someone be 10 kilos over?
Yeah, I've heard it many times. I've heard stories of fighters who not worked with me and ones who were wanting to start working with me. The most important for me is the moral part of it, because if I can be like, well, this fighter is going to pay me to help them make the weight, and I know that, yeah, listen, this will be tough and it'll be difficult, but if I personally think that it's not good for them to lose, let's say, 10 kilograms in 5 days, I'll just say to them, look, I'll be honest with you, I know this is an important fight for you, but I personally think you would make the weight if you listen to all the methods, but if it's going to be very difficult for you to fully rehydrate and fully refuel, and most likely you'll take a lot of damage in the fight. And I personally wouldn't think that's good, because I'll just say, look, you can always fight for another belt. It's just your health which you've got to prioritise here. So if usually the maximum amount of weight that I would like to cut on a fight week is, I've got the range between 3 and 4 kilograms, but when you start to go above 6, 7 kilograms, it's usually too much and not what I like to do. So that's kind of the way that I run it. I'd never want to force a fighter to make the weight if I don't think it's going to be good for him, because that just makes me look like I'm pressuring them to do it, and I don't want to know that I've had to make somebody make that weight when really it shouldn't have been done.
What is the right weight then in your case? Like, what is the right steps to be dropping? So you talked about 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out. What is that process like? Are you at a point of like, okay, it's only 250 grams a day, 500 a kg a day. What is it for you? What is that safe, correct weight drop for a fighter?
So, like on fight week, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you're just saying, I'm glad you said it. That, like, you wouldn't want someone to drop 10 kilos in the last week. You'd want someone to gradually build their way down, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense to me. So, essentially, the way that I would do it is when a fighter does a full camp, right, we'd obviously look at how far they are above the weight, and we're going to try and get as much. I'll obviously get pictures of the physique, etc. So, say, for example, it's a fighter who is like, 3 months out, is 12 or 13 kilograms above their fight weight. I know that it's going to be a little bit of water retention, but it's mostly going to be fat mass. So, we'll spend the majority of that fight camp, 8 to 10 weeks, getting as much body fat off as possible. And then what we will do is, as I say, around 2 weeks before, that's when we'll start to do the gradual carb depletion, because it takes your body around 24 to 36 hours to fully deplete your glycogen, your carbs, which is obviously a large amount of your body weight. So we'd used to do that anywhere between 7 to 14 days out, depending on how much weight you've got, and then we'd get you to a comfortable weight on the fight. So say, for example, we're doing it that way, and then we'd get that fighter to a comfortable weight on the Monday, on the start of the fight week, for the weigh-in to be on Friday. I'd usually try and make sure, as I said before, between 3 and 4 kilograms, and then we just make them other changes to the diet where we take the fibre out, the meal volume, and that's essentially how we'll do it, and lose the extra water retention. And if it's gone to plan, then that's essentially the way it should work.
What's the you've hit weight? What's the process then?
The weight.
They've made the fighters now made weight. What changes?
Right. Okay. Okay. So once the fighter steps on the scale, obviously they make the weight. That's it. Perfect. Then what we'll do is we're focusing on, of course, the rehydration and the refueling. The most important thing we've got to do first is rehydrate. So what I'll usually do is I'll calculate a rehydration for me, and we'll do 150% of the amount of fluid that they've lost on fight week, so the amount of weight, so the starting weight on fight week, and then obviously the weight they made on the scales. We'll times that by 1.5, and then we'll usually make that the main priority. So we're going to do 1 litre per hour after the weighing, and we're going to focus on getting the sodium back in, the key electrolytes, and the fluid. And what we would do is we would start off with, of course, that rehydration is the most important thing. Usually, after 2 drinks, we'll start to slowly incorporate foods, and so we'd be starting off with things like sweets, liquid-based carbs, carb powders, and then slowly building up to things like rice cakes, bagels with jam, things like that, and then bigger meals. What a lot of fighters will do is they'll make the weight, and then they're so thirsty, they're so dehydrated, chugging all this water down and plain water, and what that's doing is that's depleting more fluid out of you and more sodium, and since some really horrible things happen to fighters, and even they do that, they'll just drink water and they'll just eat food straight away. And unfortunately, you've got to stagger it because your body cannot process all of that
Yeah.
food and all of that fluid at once. So, like I said, rehydration first, couple of drinks in, and then you just start to incorporate food slowly. And then usually, you do it like that, you're not going to get bloated, and you're going to replace all the carbs. Because what you've got to remember is, on a day before weighing, you've got a full day to get it all back into you. So you've got that time to do it. So it's just about having patience and not rushing the process, because if you rush it, basically, yeah, I don't need to go into too much detail, but you're going to see what's going to happen. Yeah.
What is this? I mean, you've used 1.5, 150% target there, but what does that look like? So when you say hydration, so like, I mean, I've got a bottle of pump water. How much water is generally used to get them rehydrated? You made me thirsty, by the way.
Yeah, myself, yeah, in a hot country like Vietnam. So yeah, like I say, what we would do is we would not normally fighters after the weigh-in, depending on how much weight they've got. Just like hypothetically speaking, it could be anywhere from 5 up to 11 litres of fluid, which is obviously 11 litres is a lot of water to be getting in. That's why I always stress the importance of avoiding a big weight cut, because you've got to think a lot of weigh-ins, depending on the promotion in Muay Thai, boxing, MMA, bare knuckle, whatever it is, they're going to be at different times. So if you've cut, let's say for example, 6 kilograms or 7 kilograms on fight week, and then we've got to replace that, 150% of the fluid you've lost, and then your weigh-ins at 4 p.m. chances are you're not going to be able to come do it all, because for one, there's not enough time, and the second point is, if you're doing it, you're just going to be doing it late into the night. You're not going to sleep, and you're just going to be urinating all night, and you're not going to get the recovery that you need, and obviously that's very dangerous.
Then, so are they I'm still trying to get that, like, around that exact, a bit more specificity around the being of, like, the understanding of that. Is it a cup of water? Is it a couple of cups of water? Is it every 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, 45 minutes?
Yeah, so usually when we do the rehydration, we do 1 litre per hour. That's essentially the way you would want to do it.
Okay.
That space could the amount that your kidneys can process and handle, because if you drink too much, like I say, your body's just gonna keep peeing and peeing and peeing, and you're not going to return it. So based off the research, we know that around 1 litre per hour is the optimal amount to be taken in. Obviously, bearing in mind getting your sodium inside and your electrolytes in, so that fluid is actually going to the right place in your body. Because when you drink water by itself, you're placing the fluid without the electrolytes, the sodium particularly, because that's what we're going to lose mostly when we're dehydrating the body.
What is one of the things? Cause people would love to know, what is it when you put too much in, you flushed out? Yeah. Can you explain that in more detail about what happens if you were to rush the system or add too much too quick?
Yeah. So basically, what happens is right. If you've dehydrated, usually, to obviously, well, not usually, all the time, when you're doing a weight cut and when you're losing all this body water on fight week, the only way to do it is to dehydrate. So you'd be taking the sodium out of your diet, like I said, to get rid of that water retention. It's a very, it's an important electrolyte to, control so many different things. Your heart rate, your nervous system, etc. So essentially, when you've dehydrated your body and you took that sodium out, and then your body is all dried out, and then you make the weight for a fight, and then you all of a sudden just drink all this water. What that's doing is that's telling your body that because we've not got the sodium to hold on to that water, your body's just going to keep getting rid of more and more water, and that's going to deplete more sodium from your body, the small amount that you still have remaining, and then that's going to cause all the problems. Like I've seen videos of fighters having seizures before, and essentially death. So it's just it's not something to be taken lightly alone, because as I say, when you drink water, you hydrate yourself, you bring fluid into your body, but when you're taking sodium, particularly sodium, the key electrolyte, you actually make sure that your body holds that water. It goes into the muscle cells.
Because it's quite it's quite something talked around fitness and sports, around hot countries like Dubai, like the Middle East, we're actually based from. And, we talked about like when you're dehydrated, you don't want to chug too much water. So I think it's really important. I mean, I know we're talking more about combat here, but definitely very important for people that when they're in those situations, whether it be fitness or working out, or they're going for long hikes and they become massively dehydrated, to understand, you might be extremely thirsty, but what's their best way to get that fluid back into the system?
Yeah, exactly. It's even here now, I'm in Vietnam and Thailand, where I've been since January, and, you've got your Muay Thai fighters there and all your combat sport athletes, and ever since I've been in Thailand, it's not been any lower than 31 degrees. So, you've got a hot climate, very humid, especially in the rainy season. So, as I say, the best way to do it is, in terms of your fluid, you want to make sure you've got some kind of electrolyte sachet mixed with water. So, you could do a session for 2 hours training Muay Thai, and then straight after that session, instead of drinking, full 1.5 litre bottle because you're dying at first, I've got to get all this water down me. What you would do is instead, you'd start off straight after your session. I would get personally a 500 milliliter bottle, just plain water. It can be any kind of water, cheap. You can have your Gucci water, any brand, doesn't matter. Put 2 sachets in with mainly high concentration of sodium, and you would just have that straight away, because that's going to take that fluid. And then, like as I say, you would then want to have 1 litre per hour and drink gradually. But the main thing is that we're getting the electrolytes in. So obviously these sports drinks are going to be very optimal for you.
There's actually some waters out there that go low in sodium, isn't it? They promote and they talk a lot like low in sodium. When it comes to low in sodium, what is your take on that? When the marketing or the ploy, do you would say someone to avoid that, or do you use that, or?
I mean, I'd say it's a bit of it's a mixed answer, because with a lot of these sports drinks, like, obviously you're going to get people on social media saying, no, you shouldn't use sports drinks, you shouldn't use electrolytes, you should just use Himalayan God salt, you should just use black salt, you should use salt from the Himalayas and the mountains. But I mean, yeah, for me personally, I like to do a mixed approach. So if you want to rehydrate after a session, like I say, a good rule of thumb to follow is to have like a Gatorade after your session, or have the 2 electrolyte sachets mixed in the 500 mils of water. And then it's good to actually add some of them salts, natural salts, to your food, like your Himalayan pink salt, your Celtic sea salt, because then you bring your more fluid back into it. Because as I say, there's a complete difference between hydration and drinking water, and that's obviously where the misinformation comes with the marketers. They're obviously not specific with what they're trying to explain. They're just trying to get you to buy these products.
There's can you quickly explain the difference too between like the Himalayan salt and the standard table salt as well? Because I know people they're going like, oh, let's add this into our glasses of water. It's like, hold on, cuz.
Yeah, so basically, table salt. So when you go to a restaurant, or you're in your house, etc., your mum brings the salt to the table, the normal regular salt. So that salt that's really refined, it's gone through a lot of processing. They put caking agents inside it, bulking agents, to basically to bulk it out. But with like Himalayan pink salt or a Celtic sea salt, that is just natural salt that's just been taken away and see wherever it comes from, and it's just natural. There's nothing that's been messed about with it. And then, obviously, unfortunately, when you've got these salts with the caking agents, the bulking agents for mass production, that obviously doesn't give your body the benefits that it needs, because it's going to cause a lot of digestive problems. Your body's going to not be able to process it properly because it's foreign, and it's just not going to work the same way as, the Celtic sea salt or the Himalayan pink salt would. So basically, one's natural, one's processed.
Which is I mean, don't get me wrong, everyone like it's so funny because when you're in this world, it's just so obvious. But then I know there's just a lot of people that aren't in this world. There's probably majority, well, no, not probably, the majority of the world is not in this understanding or doesn't have this basic knowledge of it. When it comes to then, you go back into it, you got them rehydrated. What's kind of something that you'll do like in that period, say 24 hours before the fight? They're getting food back into their system. Does there a change from, okay, because obviously you want maximum performance, and from a nutrition point of view, what is it you're really looking to do? And there's something between 12 hours to go? So once they've got food back in the system, what's really the focus then in the build up in the
So,
hours
so
before the fight?
Yeah, so essentially, right, when you're on a day before weighing, the post weighing period is about getting that fluid back in, the electrolytes, restoring the glycogen, so the carbs you've lost, and then on the day of the fight, it's essentially just about carb loading. So when you're fighting, usually when you're in fighting is a very stop start sport. The short bursts of high intensity actions, and then obviously rest periods in between. So it's like go, stop, stop and go, stop and go, and that's obviously going to use an energy system where your body needs glucose and carbs for them fast actions. So essentially, all we're focusing on the day of that fight there is loading the body with carbohydrates, and then essentially we're going to have bigger meals earlier on in the day, and then closer to the fight, we're going to reduce the volume of the food we eat so we can feel light. So essentially, if you wanted to know an example of how it would work, let's say, for example, you had 4 meals on the day of the fight. That first meal could be scrambled eggs on toast, 500 ml glass of orange juice, and then the next meal could be peri peri chicken and rice. Meal after that could be a Nutella bagel with a banana, and then what you would do is close to your fight, as I would say, you'd be going for things like energy gels, small amounts of rice cakes, small bananas, and it's like I say, it's just essentially getting that timing correctly, because a lot of people think, okay, more food equals more energy, which to an extent it does. But as I said, that timing is really important, because I've heard so many fighters after just before the fight, wouldn't mind a pizza now, or wouldn't mind a
Oh
kebab,
yeah.
or full English, and then next minute, what's happening? They're blowing out in the fight in the first round, and that's the exact reason why. So it's important about the timing. It's so important to get that part right.
What's the issues you have to deal with then with the fighters? Because like you just said, like they want the pizza. I mean, do you have to show them the schedule and say, okay, this is it, this is on the list? Or is it exactly like, do you have to meal prep it for them, or do you have to, yeah?
Yeah, so I'll program the meals for them on the application that I use, and then that will all be based on the time they're fighting. So if they're fighting at, let's say, for example, 10 p.m., usually the last big meal, so the last solid food meal, would be 4.5 to 5 hours before. So that could be like, pesto pasta, chicken tomato sauce pasta, anything like that. And I'll just basically say, look, if you eat this pizza now, you're going to be tired. If you eat this pizza instead of this pesto pasta, you're going to be gassing out within the first round. You're not going to be able to do it. Your gas tank's going to be running out, and you're going to potentially not win the fight. I think once you get that part in, you tell them that there's a possible chance that you're going to feel not great in this fight. Then it's like, okay, no problem, I'll do what you say, and then that's kind of where the that's where they listen and take it on board.
What? Okay, because this is also because I love how you've really so quickly niched down. Like like your social media is around the same space as well. It's about combat. It's not about sports nutrition anymore. It's not like a variety of sports. It's not like you've dabbled too much in other sports. You've gone straight in here the combat side of things. And like a post just recently was building a legacy in the fight or combat nutrition as well. That you just put in there as well. What is this? What is it? Can you explain a little more deeper about that? Like, what is that for you? That legacy?
Yeah, so essentially, I want to be known for that guy who made changes to combat sports in terms of eating more and making weight and helping fighters actually realise that they can eat more food throughout their entire career. Because the most important thing for me is, like I said, performance and longevity. And I see it all across social media now, where there's big name fighters in the UFC, boxing, whatever it is, and they're just going on massive cycles of increasing the weight and decreasing the weight, and it's a constant repetitive thing where nothing's being changed. And it's important for me to be that person who puts the education, actually show the fighters that they can eat more and have the right structure with the hydration, with the weight checking, and actually, still enjoy the food. That's Everybody wants to eat food. Everybody loves food. It's just about having that understanding, as I say, and that knowledge. And do you know what it is as well? I just love the thought of knowing that I can help people doing it. I've kind of like engaged it and connected everything to the way I am in person. I'm always putting everybody before myself. I've always liked to help people. I've always liked to be a good leader, like a nutritionist or like a coach. And it's very satisfying feeling to know that if I see a fighter make weight easy, or I see them have the best fight camp of their life, or win the fight that I actually contributed. It's good to be part of the team. It's good to know that people are listening to your method, and it's working. And it's like, I believe that if you're going to do something, you've got to be the best at it. I want to be known for something in my life. I personally think that we're all here for a reason. I'm here for a reason, and luckily, thankfully, I found what I'd like to do. Love the combat sports. I love the weight making process, and it's just something that I love to do, and I think about it day and night. And I think if you can find something like that in your life, I think you've just cracked everything. And luckily, as I say, I've managed to find that. So it's great, to be honest with you. Yeah.
It's fantastic, man. I love the sound in your voice. I mean, I love that. That's why I feel like I want people to hear that side of things, and that's what FFP is about, like helping people discover people like yourself that have a passion, that have a purpose, that inspire. And when you go into, obviously Thailand's the destination for you. Obviously, that's around because there's so many fighters there, right? The best fighters. Is that this is part of that grand scheme, their grand plan as well, right? So what
Exactly.
do you look to do when you're there?
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there. So that's the exact reason why I came to Thailand. So before I came in January, I was speaking with a lot of English guys and foreign fighters out in Thailand, and they was all just telling me how much I needed to get there. And I'd looked into it about 3 years ago, but to be honest, I didn't have the confidence to do it, if I'm being completely honest. But once fighters started trying to convince me to come over, and I looked into it, I took the advice on board from the fighters that were talking to me, some of my friends as well. And I looked at it and I thought, right, well, Muay Thai is the national sport, it's combat sport, and I'm working with fighters, right, I need to go there. And everything about it just sort of engaged with what I was doing. So I went there, and then, yeah, the plan is to just make myself as big as a fighting nutritionist as I can in Thailand, in your RWS Muay Thai, your One Lumpini, and carry on working with fighters all across the world in England and the UK. But I think the good thing about what I'm doing is I'm not just focusing on Muay Thai, because I think there's even some people they'll come into combat sports. It's like, well, I'm just doing boxers or I'm just doing MMA. But with me, I like to focus on combat sports as a general niche. So like your Muay Thai, your boxing, your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and have an impact on them all. And I want to know, right, this guy is the fighting nutritionist. That's Finn Kenny, the wizard, as a lot of fighters like to refer to me as. You might see me saying, the wizard a lot. And yeah.
That's right, mate. Well, this other part of it is, and that, do you ever get to be part of the walkout?
When the fighters are doing the walkouts?
Because that'd be pretty cool, right? There's part of the thing to get there as well. Like, as a nutritionist, like, to be part of that. Do you get a chance to do that, or?
Well, yeah. So if I go to fights in Thailand, which I've been doing a lot recently, and I'm part of the team, we usually go in the dressing rooms and on the ringside. But yeah, I wouldn't really do the walkout with the fighters. I don't think they'd probably want the nutritionist coming doing that with them. They want the spotlight on them. But
maybe.
Yeah, normally I would definitely part of the ringside, because it's just good sometimes. Like I say, I'm a winner. I believe I'm a serial winner. And whenever I'm working with these fighters, I'm watching the fights, even if it's someone in the UK or Australia, or even better when I'm with them in Thailand. I want to watch them, and I want to see them win. I want to see fighters. I want to see the fact that I've put them a plan together and helped them with the camp, that it's actually contributed, and I want to see them be successful. I think it's just great to see.
Well, it's super important too, mate, because nutrition plays the ultimate role on our emotions, our well-being, our energy levels. So our performance ultimately at the end of the day. So I mean, it's nearly one of those thankless things that positions that people can be in. So I think what you're trying to do, mate, is absolutely amazing. It's so good, and like if you could, keep pushing on that one for sure. And we're going to be following your journey and your story as you do that. Where is it for you? Where's that? To create this legacy, is it a? Because now with fitness and stuff like that, it's kind of a bit more online. But would you like to set up your own kind of camp, facility, online space, or?
Yeah, so obviously it's a great question. Like I said, the idea with moving to Thailand is to make myself as big as I possibly can there with the Muay Thai scene, the combat sports scene there, and make myself an online presence. But yeah, I mean, essentially the plan is to, obviously you get this 5 years visa for Thailand, and that allows you to work online. So that's going to give me some stability there, and then essentially, depending on how it goes within the next couple of years, which I'm know and I'm confident that it will go well, I can make myself a huge name in Thailand, and I'm actually starting to learn little bits of the language. To be honest, when I first came to Thailand, I picked up a couple of key phrases fast anyway, so I'm trying to really get into the language and help to understand the culture of the Muay Thai fighters there, because a lot of the Muay Thai fighters from Thailand, the Thai is like their sport. Some of the eating habits and some of the ways that they do things are way too old school, and I want to be the first person in history as a nutritionist who's actually changed the beliefs of the Thai coaches and the Thai fighters themselves. And obviously it's a huge thing to do. It's a massive mountain to climb, but it's there to be done for a reason, I think, and that's why I want to do it in Thailand. And I just love the way the Thai people are. I think they've got a very
Amazing,
polite
yeah.
way about them, and it's just what I want to do and what I'm going to do. Yeah.
Awesome, mate. I absolutely love it. I mean, Thailand's got such a big fitness, wellness, sports, adventure scene, and it's one of the places we're looking to highlight a lot more, especially in the coming years, because it's becoming a space a lot of people want to travel to for one reason or another, combat being obviously a big pull for that side of things. There is the, I'm going to say this kind of thing, with the retreats and stuff like that, with you, would it be something that you would look at side of as well as helping it for like a fighting camp, or do you want to stay with the individual? Because retreats are huge. Like to go to Thailand it's like everyone says, I go to Thailand, I go into a fight camp.
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely something that I'm into doing. But when you say a retreat, do you mean like as part of like an entire gym? Is that what you're trying to say there?
No, so like Thailand is known for obviously all their combat sports. But everyone around the world goes to Thailand. Usually they're saying they're going there to do they're going to chill out and relax, or two, they're going there to do some kind of fight camp. Usually a Muay Thai fight camp type of fight camp, or they're going there to do a wellness retreat type of thing as well. Was that a space? Are you just focusing just on the individuals, or are you looking at would you be going into that side of space as well, whether it be fight camp nutritionists for larger groups, or you want to stay specifically just for the fighters?
Yes, it's specifically just for the fighters. To be honest, that's kind of the avenue that I'm going down. I mean, it possibly could be something that I'm open to, but now I'm just really trying to keep that individual element. 'Cause I think that's the way it works within combat sports. Obviously fighting is a very individualized sport, so it's so important to
So I
understand that every
wondered.
fighter is different, and I really like that part about it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, brilliant, mate. Absolutely amazing, and looking forward to seeing your journey and as you push through in that North Star direction. To change the landscape, I suppose, as well, because there's a big mindset shift. Like you said, it's to help do that. I think wellness in the world is getting more and more front of mind, as far as people just understand it. People want to perform better. You got younger people coming through that are just phenomenal, are getting better at a younger age, or there's longevity on the other end, which is a big part of what you have as well, and something you want to instill in the fighters to have that longevity. The world's getting older already. There's a thing about the other day about Japanese. There's now over 100,000 people in Japan that are over the age of 100. So yeah, you're sending yourself to an Asian culture that does have a big play, like these blue zones in longevity. So yeah, man, you're in the right spot. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, just going to say, hopefully that's me living past that age.
Yeah, 100%. I already am. I just told the universe I am. I'll still be running and doing everything else past the age of 100, mate. So, everyone, thank you very much, man. Appreciate your time, mate. It's been absolutely awesome. Guys, you can get a hold of Finn Kenny, Finn Kenny _ fight nutritionist. That's on the Instagram, correct? And is it on other social platforms as well? Same one, or on Instagram?
Yep, same username on all platforms: YouTube, Instagram. Obviously, Facebook's my name, TikTok's the same username. So pretty much, you type my name in, you're going to find me.
Brilliant. Awesome, mate. Thank you very, very much for your time. Guys, girls, let Finn know any questions you have. Go directly to him. Don't be asking me these kind of questions. I don't know. That's what I just learned a heck of a lot from the man himself. It's been brilliant talking to you, mate. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and what you're doing.
No problem very much. Thank you very much for getting me on, and yeah, thank you for letting me share my story and what I'm trying to do. Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome. Okay, guys, ready for the world's greatest adventure. The FFP World Tour 2026. A year-long journey to 36 destinations packed with fitness, sports, wellness, and unforgettable adventures. Each destination will be under the spotlight. 10 days of activations, events, challenges, and your chance to connect with like-minded people. The tour is led by the Chief Adventure Officer, who will travel the world for 12 months, discovering, exploring, and sharing the best experiences along the way. The CAO will be joined by 100 ambassadors throughout the world to connect with the people and inspire their city. Want to get involved? Simply register as a user or a member on our website, or tag FFP Travels when posting content of the places you visit and the people you meet. It's that easy. This is more than just a tour. This is the world's greatest adventure.